episode 35. I'm here this week with wonderful guests and a lot to talk about. It's the first time the Google Doc has reached 2 pages in a very long time. So let's get started with the intros. HuK, what have you been up to lately?
Streaming Legacy of the Void, pretty much that's it, and then just normal daily stuff.
Yeah? Cool. Yeah, we've spent a lot of time on your stream and having people like Aryum, Bliss, Candralisk, Moosgill. It's been pretty cool to listen to and watch. What about you, Morrow? What have you been up to lately?
I was pretty much came home from Copenhagen Games only a few days ago, so that was pretty fun. But I missed like the Legacy hype. But I'm playing Legacy now, and it's been really fun.
Yeah? Even though you lose to a lot of questionable people?
Well, I'm just like screwing around, testing the units and stuff like that. Like I didn't really play it seriously yet.
Okay. Except when you beat me, right?
Well, against you, I played the semi-series. Yes.
Alright, thank you for the ego help. What about you, Jonah? What have you been up to?
Well, I had a local event, Dutch event this weekend as well, so I haven't been home much either, but I got to play Legacy before and after, and that's about it.
Okay, cool. As for myself, I've been streaming a lot of Legacy. I had the first desRow weekly on Saturday. Nurture beat Bly 4-0. Poor Bly. Had a lot of fun casting that. The biggest thing for me is like in the Lycan League and the desRow Cup, there's only like HuK that's a good Protoss. We really need good Protosses to pick up the beta and prove that Protoss is shit. But let's get into it. Legacy of the Void, first impressions. We've all played quite a bit. I guess me and HuK the most. So we'll start with you, HuK. What are your first impressions about the game, even though like you've said it maybe 1,000 times by now on your stream?
In general, the way that it's more fast paced and the economy has been changed are the biggest things, I guess. I really like that. Obviously, like you said, I feel like the balance is pretty bad, but in general, the new units and what they're supposed to accomplish and their abilities is really well designed, I feel. Obviously, there's going to have to be like stats and buffs and nerfs to different units, but in general, I think this is like the best we could hope for as far as Legacy of the Void, I would say.
What about you, Jonah? Your first impressions? Zerg finally winning something.
Well, yeah, I think of course it's not balanced yet. I like a lot of the stuff, and I also dislike some stuff. I'm actually kind of hopeful that they actually, like, for the first time ever, are willing to do some like big, impactful design changes rather than just making endless small tweaks to meaningless units. So I don't know. I really hope I got a lot of hope, but I hope I'm not gonna be disappointed soon. By just another expansion that's like Heart of the Swarm.
What about you, Morrow? The Cyclone, is it what the turn needs?
I don't know about that, but I've been having so much fun, man. Playing Archon mode and just playing that unranked. Like the new economy changes is my favorite part, but also I like the new units a lot.
Yeah. Let's get started. We'll just go unit by unit, I guess, to give our first impression. So the Ravager, the Ravager's a new unit. It's a Roach upgrade. Obviously, we've talked about this, from the BlizzCon Remax and everything. But is the Ravager too strong in its current format? Should the Corrosive Bow be like a channeling spell so that it cannot auto-attack right after casting it? Chris?
I mean, they have a lot of options as far as how they want to nerf it. They can remove the make it a higher cooldown for the ability, lower the attack speed, do what you said, and make it like a channeling spell of some sort. I don't know what they would do. I think the simplest thing would just be to raise the cooldown of its ability and then change the base stats as far as damage and stuff. But yeah, pretty much it.
Yeah, it does insane damage. It has really quick long range, and it moves very quickly. What about you, Jonah, as a Zerg player?
Yeah, I actually think the best way to change a Ravager is probably just making the cooldown pretty massive, but have it actually be more impactful damage-wise. That way, when the Corrosive Bout does hit, it's very exciting and very cool. but you can't just spam like 10 of them in a row because you'll be on cooldown for the rest of the fight. And next to that, you won't be like able to like remove every force field, just like the few force fields that are maybe important for you to get through.
Hmm. Yeah, to me, like the most Zergs I've seen, they like rarely break the force fields. It's like they don't they don't need it anymore. They're just like too strong and overrun us. But
Yeah, the range of the unit is maybe too big as well. Maybe they should make it smaller and just have it be roach range instead of having it outrange the roaches.
hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Mo, the Cyclone.
And I want to talk about the Ravager.
Okay, well, how's TVC, Mo?
CVC is fun, man. Finally, it like I feel like there's some more micro to the Zerg, so that's what I love about the Ravager. And finally, we have like some real answer to force field. Not we, but you know when I'm playing Zerg. So it's a really nice unit in that way. I really like it by that, and I can also see like in, you know, before me, you know, like when you're playing tank buy with medevacs, and they like throw those things, and you have to pick up the tanks and kite backwards. Just everything just seems super intensive when you bring in that unit. But you know, obviously it's very overpowered right now because it like costs almost no minerals at all, so you can like mass up roaches, go across the map, and then you just pool gas on the way while droning behind, and then you just spam Ravagers with your entire gas bank. I think that's too strong. Like the build time of those Ravagers is like way too easy to just mass them. Like you can just build them like they're banelings, and I think that's pretty problematic because they're much more, you know, impactful than banelings are. You know, being like tier 2 units and so on. So I don't really like how fast they build. I wish they would nerf that. But also I think they attack too quickly. Yeah, the ability itself might need longer cooldown as well. But otherwise, I think the unit is in a good place.
Yeah. Do you think they should nerf? Because right now, like, I've seen some CVZs where Zerglings like they take forever to kill a Ravager Cocoon. Do you think like the maybe like the morph time of a Broodlord plus nerfing the armor of the Ravager morphing? Would be
Yeah,
good?
I don't think they need like a ton of armor. I think Baneling eggs have 2 armor, and I think they should give the same treatment to the Ravager egg. But also, you know, like having it build so quickly, I think is just pretty stupid. Because as soon as the fight is over, and you're doing like mass roach Ravager, you just refill with a bunch of more Ravagers, and you always have that ability, you know, available. And I think that's pretty, you know, pretty silly.
Yeah, but it's like, I think the X should maybe be a bit stronger than Baneling X, because what I like from what I've seen from Brute War, that players could do like cool micro tricks, like morphing a Hydra into a Lurker Egg to block a mine shot or something. I think those things are pretty cool to like save a unit, for example. So I would like that to be possible. And I think if the unit isn't too strong and the build time is appropriate, I don't think the eggs should make that much of a difference regardless.
One of the stupidest things, not really key to balance, but what I thought was pretty ridiculous and is an obvious mistake that's going to be patched sooner or later, is that when they're morphing in eggs, like whether it's Hydra to Lurker or Roach to Ravager, if you pick them up with the Phoenix, they just hatch. Like as soon as you pick them up, they hatch. Even if they just started or whatever. So like if you pick it up and then you like drop it or whatever, it just fucking it's like an incubator for the fucking eggs. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Maybe finally you learn to leave me alone when I'm morphing shit, man.
Next up, the Cyclone. One of the biggest concerns for me with the Cyclone is if you open Phoenixes and there's no terrain for you to like, for the Cyclone to be blocked by, the Phoenix will almost always die. How satisfying is that feeling of seeing everything die? Nothing can outrun the Cyclone, man.
It's like, man, the fucking Cyclone, man. Holy shit, that unit is just everything about that unit feels too strong right now. So it's just, it doesn't have like that niche role about, you know, grabbing map control, like putting pressure. No, it actually you just fucking build Cyclones and you destroy everything. You build Hellion and Cyclone against Zerg, and you can kite them all, you know, all game. Like there's not a single Zerg unit that can actually deal with that army composition. You need to like come from 2 sides, or you know, use burrow roaches and appear, underneath. Even, hitting with fungal is really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And then against Protoss, Protoss pretty much has to go Phoenix in early game just to deal with that unit, because it can kite Mothership Core, it can kite, Stalkers, Zealots, Adepts, they don't do anything. So, it's just really strong right now.
Carriers. It doesn't fucking matter, man. Every single unit.
It can and I find like carriers can actually deal with them, because you can like launch out interceptors.
They do Cyclone and then Widow Mines. Widow Mines kill all the interceptors, and then my carriers just die, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah. As far as the role of the unit goes, I think it's a like I'm not a huge fan of Terran getting another like annoying kiting unit. I think like every single Terran unit is like that. I would prefer if we had like some big dude with AoE or a spellcaster with AoE to like force micro out of the opponent.
So like a
Cyclone just feels
ghost,
like another unit
right?
that needs constant attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ghost, for example, is a unit that I think Terran needs more of.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Cyclone, very, very strong. Let's go into the carrier HuK. You talked about it. It seems a lot more viable now. Dumping the interceptors is really nice, because you can have if you stay at a single
This again,
What? What do you mean?
fucking HuK is
What's going on?
imitating me again.
Oh, okay.
what? I'm not doing anything. I was stretching, man.
So anyhow, the carrier, if you siege an opponent's base and you dump all the interceptors, you can have more than 8 total. Like as the battle goes on, you end up maybe having 14 interceptors. Which matchup do you like carrier the most, Chris?
What? Would you ask?
Which
What?
matchup do you like using carriers the most?
None of them, to be honest. Zerg players, little of them know of this trick, but carriers did really good against Zerg for a while, and then one Zerg player did this to me, and I was freaking amazed. And it like kills carriers, as you get the Viper, and it has that new ability that's like Irradiate.
Mm-hmm.
But when you cast it on something and it dies, it stays in the air. So if the foolish Zergs see the carriers, are like, fuck, I'm just going to cast it on the carriers. That's a big mistake. You cast it on an interceptor, it's small enough, it dies really quickly, and then as soon as it dies, you have this big-ass cloud of death that kills all the other interceptors. So if they have like 2 Vipers and they cast a few of those spells on your interceptors, basically they just lose every single interceptor, and the carrier is completely useless.
Don't you need to target a unit with that ability?
You can target an interceptor.
Really?
So an
No,
interceptor.
I don't think you can. You can't like click or select an interceptor.
Pretty sure you can.
I don't know how this spell works. I've never used it before, to be honest.
Well, whatever. Like, if not, you can just put it on an overlord, and it's.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess. I'm pretty sure you can cast on interceptors, but anyways, that like pretty much GG wrecks carriers. And then Terran, it's like either you play against Bio and the Marines just like stim a move and all your interceptors are dead, and then Cyclones clean up, or Widow Mines kill all your interceptors and then the Cyclones clean up. But either way, you lose. And then PvP going carriers is like a fucking joke. So I believed in the carrier, and I think it's really strong, but like in the current way that the game's balanced, it's not useful against the best players. But I could definitely, it's a lot better than it was in HOTS, but just in general, the game seems a little imbalanced, as, obviously, but it'll get better.
Okay. Let's go on to the Lurker. It feels like the Lurker is like the unit we never see, because Zerg is just so happy with the Ravager. And Jonah, is that true?
Well, I tried to use the Lurker. It's just it doesn't really have a place in the game right now, to be honest. Like, the only things you can really do that are like actually strong is if you Nidus them from like 2 base or something, can be really strong. Or if you're pushing with Hydras and you kind of transition into Lurkers as you're like kind of splitting off bases. So if you do like the 3 base Hydra timing as Protoss and you start making Lurkers while you're kind of between their bases, that's really strong. But I feel like you kind of kill them anyway a lot of the times if you just make Ravagers, and I feel like the Lurkers don't really have a good role in the game. I would really like to be able to make them a bit quicker, so you can kind of kind of use them to either defend your expansions earlier or like start pressuring the enemy expansions with them earlier. Because I really feel like the only part where I can kind of see them become useful is once they have Hive and they get the mega range upgrade and you can turtle with them, but which seems like something we obviously don't want. So
Like the problem I had with playing Lurker is that, like you said, you just like before you get that upgrade with the range, they actually kind of suck. So you need, you need the fucking Lurker, then you need Infestation Pit, then you need Hive, and then once the Hive is done, you also need to upgrade Lurker range, which takes a fuck ton of time to upgrade. So I think the tech path, they need to like cut it down a bit. I think it's like way too much right now, and that's biggest problem I have with the Lurker.
Yeah, like downgrade the Lurker tech path and make the Ravager higher, because right now you can make it off hatch, can't you? It's fucking
it's bullshit. I don't know why they did that either. Like,
well, me and desRow were talking about it, and he was saying how the depth is so good, but then he said, well, I only played against AI, so I feel like when Blizzard was balancing this game, like all the decisions they made were like they played against AI, and they're like, yeah, Ravager seems okay, depth seems okay, yeah, because your opponent has no brain. That's why.
I think they did like everything too strong on purpose, just so we would use the new units and you would see them on the stream and so on.
Well, they all back with the adapt.
Wrong with the adapt, yeah.
I like the problem. Like adapt would be strong against bio in early game if it weren't for people doing cyclones. I bet you could do like mass gateway adapt and just run past the bunkers, go up in the main base, and GG.
It just doesn't deal any damage to like
in
armored.
Every way.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
It attacks too slow.
Way.
And like
I get 2 shots Marines, 2 shots SCVs, and it costs 100 minerals.
It shoots like once every 20 seconds, man.
Yeah, I know it doesn't shoot fast, but I'm just saying, like, if you don't build cyclones, I think that could like have a role in the early game against Terran.
Well,
but yeah, I agree. Like the unit doesn't seem that strong. I don't like the upgrade for the adept. The splash damage upgrade, because I think Protoss already has too much. I think Protoss already has too much splash damage. I would prefer if that upgrade was moved down in tech, because right now I think you need a lot of tech to get it. It's pretty expensive, and I think that upgrade could just make the adept straight up, better at fighting armored units.
I think one of the problems with Adept is you have to wait the full 10 seconds before it teleports, which reduces a lot of the micro. Because like it can't keep up with an SCV running away, and then with the image, it's kind of like very hit and miss a lot of times. So hopefully they tweak it a little. A unit we haven't seen, just like the Lurker, the Tempest. I don't think I've seen a single person make it across all streams. What would you want the Tempest to be more used in game, Chris?
Have it reverted back to what it was before instead of what it is now. I feel like it has no use right now at all, where if it actually was the way it was in the past, it would have a use. And I don't think it's going to be insanely imba either, because the only time Tempests were used in HOTS was against Swarm Host, really. I don't remember almost any other scenario where they were commonly used. And then even then...
Tyrant late game, always.
PvP late game.
Yeah, PvP late game.
Enough,
yeah, but I mean...
You always do them against Tyrant.
It was very rarely seen against Tyrant.
When you do Phoenix Colossus, you transition into Tempest, right, against Tyrant?
How many times have we seen that at the highest level?
Okay, maybe.
Yeah,
I watched
so
too much
about
Anonymous.
European highest level, just because the Koreans don't do it.
Even European highest level,
strong.
how many times have we seen it? Name like 4 games in the last year.
Tempest like so often. Like the thing is that when you get so late game, Tyrant is usually already dead because they're fucked in late game anyway. So.
But that's what I mean. It's not like an insanely strong unit, and they nerfed it to it being completely useless. But saying that it was widely used is completely incorrect. I can't name 4 games that it was used in the last year in PvT at all. Can you name me 4 games?
Because you don't have that late game games. Like Tyrant
But that's what I mean.
Yes, so the unit doesn't mean it's weak just because Tyrant dies before you get Tempest. Like Tempest,
it doesn't matter. If it was really strong, it'd be used every game. If it was actually applicable to gameplay and it was really strong, it'd be used.
Anyway,
Regardless,
I
I
really
think they
don't
should
like
make the
Tempest.
sound softer, man, of the Tempest. It's way too loud.
The sound.
Well, welcome to Protoss, man. Fucking photon overcharge is so loud, so annoying, and the cannons too. But
Yeah, I don't know why those sounds are so loud. It just makes like the feeling even worse when it hits you.
yeah.
Anyways, it wasn't used hardly ever. Well, it was used against Swarmhost in PvZ or Broodlords, and it was used against Colossus in PvP, and then whatever, Morrow, shut the fuck up about PvT. But
But,
Yeah,
Colossus
apparently
aren't.
you know more about me about that matchup, so
There you go. Yeah. Goddamn right. And then Colossus aren't used that like ever like right now in PvP matchup for Legacy of the Void, so you won't see them there. And then PvZ Swarmhost won't be used either. So I don't know why they like the whole meta's being changed, and then they're even more useless. They're just never going to see the light of the day. They're going to be like the new carrier in Legacy of the Void.
would you still like keep the bonus to massive they have right now, or would you do it like they are gonna patch it soon for HOTS, where it's only like it takes like 6 shots for a Broodlord instead of 3?
They're changing that?
Yeah, they're changing that, right? I thought they're changing it. I think it's part of the Swarmhost patch where Broodlords now take 6 shots to die instead of 3.
I never heard about that. So now it's just going to be like old days, and it's going to be like Broodlords versus Tempest.
No,
every game?
I still think Tempest will destroy Broodlords if you have enough of them. I just don't think one Tempest will kill an entire Broodlord army anymore.
Okay.
But that's literally how it was in PV. Like, you can't make Broodlords PvZ ever because the Tempest just kills it. Like, it dies too quick, and now it dies still quick, but slightly less quick.
I think one of the Tempest change that would be nice is in one of the previous Legacy of the Void patch, they had the Tempest be super fast, and because of how fast Legacy is, if they could somehow revert to that, it couldn't shoot up air, but it could move very fast. So that was kind of cool, and it could keep up with a lot of things. But we'll see where they take the Tempest. Next up of a unit we rarely see, although I've seen Tempest and Parting and a few others make it. The Colossus has been nerfed by 20%. The range has been nerfed as well. Some people have said maybe buff the range upgrade, make it 100 instead of 200. Chris, what are your thoughts on the Colossus?
I mean, I just don't think, once again, it's going to be used.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like Disruptor is probably better in every single way. The Colossus wasn't a great unit in HOTS, and then they're going to just continue to add it into Legacy and make it worse.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, once again, they're just picking a unit that wasn't that great, making it worse, and then adding something.
Colossus against everything.
You used it, yeah, you used it, but like the design of the unit was horrible. You have Colossus versus Vikings in PvT, and then against Zerg, it's just Colossus versus Swarmhost.
Or
And then-
Viper, yeah.
Yeah, and both of those things aren't widely used in Legacy of the Void at all.
Yeah, so
Like
it's good, right?
the Colossus would be a lot better than the Disruptor if it was the same from HOTS right now in Legacy of the Void. Because
agree.
what the Disruptor is, basically, is Storm. So it's like Protoss can't open Colossus anymore, and they're opening Storm against Terran, and they're opening Storm against Zerg, which is completely unreliable in HOTS, nonetheless Legacy of the Void. And that's why Protoss is struggling so hard right now in Legacy of the Void.
So, next up, we have the Warp Gate. We'll do Swarmos last. We have the Warp Gate. So Warp Gate
Are
takes
we
up-
like just gonna blaze through everything? Like
You
this
want to talk
quickly?
more?
No, let's
you wanna,
talk-
You want to talk
like-
about the
we can
Colossus?
talk about
In my
Colossus for like 1 hour. I'm so excited to talk about the Colossus.
No, but
now.
I just wanted to talk about like all the Protoss nerfs and like what do we need next. So that's why I wanted to move on to Warp Gate. But if you want to talk more about the Colossus, Morrow, like go ahead.
Like
All right.
no Protoss in HOTS likes the Colossus. No Protoss in Legacy of the Void is going to like it either, obviously, right? The Disruptor is the same thing as Storm. You either hit really big and it does a lot of damage and it's worth it, or you don't and then it's completely useless. But Protoss doesn't have the necessary reliable AoE that they had in HOTS anymore because the Colossus got removed. You know, like a Disruptor can hit 10 units, but against a good player it could hit like 2 Marines.
Yeah.
And then once it pops, it's done. Like you're out of that fight with that Disruptor.
So the Colossus should be reliable damage with maybe less reliable AoE. So it should still
Or-
deal like maybe a
or
good
they
amount
need-
of damage, but less
or-
splash or something.
Yeah, or they need to make another unit that's reliable DPS, or they have to make Protoss Gateway units stronger in general.
Yeah, I think the
Which-
Sentry needs a buff.
well, I don't know what needs what, but they need to make a choice. Like it's possible they can make the disruptor an activated ability for a certain amount of time, and it does a really high amount of DPS, but it's not instantaneous, so it doesn't pop, but it does. It's like a glowing same area effect, and it does
Keeps
like
doing damage.
yeah, like keeps doing damage. There's a lot of options they have, but right now because Protoss doesn't have that Colossus in their army anymore,
Yeah.
they're suffering a lot.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm really happy that units like Tempest, units like Colossus are nerfed because those are just kind of big A-move units in my eyes, and they're pretty badly designed. I feel like Colossus is the kind of unit that just kills everything and has like 2 hard counters, Vikings and Corruptor, and then Tempest is just kind of there just to kill Broodlords and maybe deal with Swarm hosts, but not really. So
Yeah.
those is like fucking boring units in my opinion. So I'm happy they're nerfed.
Yeah.
And there comes in the new units like Disruptor, which is actually interesting and requires micro.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. They're definitely A-move units. Like, they're not exciting to watch at all. You're just like, oh my god, he's got so many! He's moving forward! Oh, I guess shits are dying. Compared to like a Disruptor, War Prism, Storm, all of those are more exciting. But if you're ready to move on from the Colossus, my next point was Warp Gate and maybe what Protoss needs in the next patch. Are you ready, Morrow? Am I
I'm
free?
ready.
Okay. So Warp Gate has been nerfed. It takes a lot longer. They said 8 seconds. I think it's 6 now with the time change of the real time or whatever. And it takes 200% damage. So basically, warping units in front warping in front of your enemy or in sight of your enemy is the best mistake you can ever make.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really bad change. Like the best part about the warping mechanic is like that it kind of can change a battlefield, or you can suddenly have units somewhere. That's like the most exciting part about Warp Gate. And the stupid part about Warp Gate is being able to rush with it and being able to like reinforce your army so much like as quick as you would at home. At least that's what I feel like. So I feel like the change they made just made it bad in general rather than making it good in certain situations. I really wish they would do the change that like everyone says they should do, where there's a difference between producing units regularly and warping in. Like having the warp-ins have a massive cooldown maybe, but still be the same. So you can still do zealot warp-ins with a prism the way it works, and you could still like warp in to defend the drop, but you can't infinitely keep warping in Blinkstalkers when you're being offensive or something. Or you'd need more gateways, which would like be more expensive and an investment.
So just a longer cooldown for everything is what you're suggesting?
Well, a longer cooldown only when you warp in. Like you should have the ability just to rally the unit out of the gateway on the same speed that it produces now, or maybe even slightly faster because it has to walk across the map to your army. So it's a slight nerf, so maybe it should be buffed a bit in speed. And then the warp-in should just have a massive cooldown. That's what I think.
Oh, what are your thoughts on that, Chris?
I mean, if the units got insanely stronger, then I'd be all for it.
Yeah,
But
they need to buff accordingly, but I think it's good.
I have no problem with building units from Gateway instead of warping in, as long as the units actually become viable. The whole point of Protoss and since like Wings of Liberty is that like it's pretty much all been around either Force Fields or Colossus, and then you have like a bunch of shitty units mixed in with that make it viable. But with Force Field obviously being like not useful at all right now in Legacy of the Void almost, and then Colossus not being useful at all again in Legacy of the Void, that's why Protoss is so weak. So if they make everything else stronger, I'm fine with it. But it's like it's obvious that Blizzard is having the hardest time balancing Protoss right now. Like I feel like the TVZ issues in Legacy of the Void, it's pretty close to the same game that it was in HuK, except Zerg late game with the Ultras is like fucking insane. And then each race has like one has Ravagers and Lurkers, the other one has like the new tank drop and the Cyclone, which can be like nerfed and buffed pretty easily, but it's still like a back and forth matchup if they make the correct changes from stat wise. And then even the Ultra that's insane right now late game, they can once again like bring down the stats a little bit and make it viable as well. But right now Protoss is hurting so much because the two biggest thing that Protoss won with, Force Fields and Colossus, is totally useless now, and that's why Protoss is struggling.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you, Jona, that like it would be
Obviously, you want
interesting if
pressure
they
with.
did it like that. that the normal gateways would be buffed. I think like one problem I have with that is that I already find it, kind of hard to macro with Protoss actually, and transferring gateways to warp gates is like
The way,
it's like pretty fucking annoying, and it would require
yeah.
a lot of APM to do that.
Well, I
Wow,
think
wow, Morrow. Is your soul burning right now as you say this about how hard Protoss is? Is it like,
No,
are
it's
you just
like
dying inside as you say
no,
these
but
words?
you would agree it would be like fucking like
yeah, yeah,
why
but
would I even go War Prism Harass? It's so fucking annoying to wait for all my current units that are building. Like, oh, they're done now. Now I'll transform all of them to warp gates and
no,
wait
the
10
way
seconds. Oh, 10 seconds pass. Flying with a War Prism. Transform the War Prism. Warp in the units. Okay, wait 8 seconds. Okay, they're done warping in here.
I,
Now we transform them back into normal gateways, and now we start building from the gateways again.
the
Like
way
that
I
sounds
see
just
it,
too fucking annoying, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think
yeah.
I would want to
But
War Prism Harass.
the way I see it is not that you have to transfer the gateway so that the gateways are just able to do both, but one has a longer cooldown, or even
Okay.
what's also a possibility is a higher cost. So imagine the cooldown is the same, but warping in units is actually more expensive. So if you want to defend a drop and you warp in zealots, the zealots maybe cost 150 minerals instead of 100. Yes, they're expensive as fuck, but you're not losing economy or something. This would
Yeah.
be an idea too to nerf the all-ins. I just think for when you're macroing, you already have like a warp gate HuK, right? That automatically gets your warp gates. You don't need to even HuK your gateways necessarily. If that warp gate HuK still functions regularly for warp gates, and then just HuKing your gateways regularly and using them through the HuK would produce regularly, I think that's not very difficult to handle because you have two very separate HuKs that work very simple.
Yeah, like you would definitely have to do some changes. You could probably just add like subgroups and just have a gateway that can just warp in, so you don't have to like fucking transform the gateway. And I
Yeah.
would be all for that, but we know like I don't think Blizzard would ever do a change like that. That's why I find this warp gate change to be nice, because it was so fucking annoying watching for years. Just Protoss got dropped like fucking face on the keyboard, hitting the C button, warping in zealots like fucking easy ride race, just warping in to defend. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like the change actually with the warp gates.
With the warpin? Okay, what
Yeah,
about
taking
like
longer time and so on.
what about
Like
like
you require more brains to defend stuff.
yeah, what about like buffing gateway units though? Maybe like cheaper Twilight upgrades and so on. Cuz
Yeah,
it's
like
yeah.
I would definitely like that. Like Chris said, HuK, that Colossus and Force Field. I agree with him completely that that was what Pros has been winning with, and then they just make a bunch of trash fodder. Like everything else just sucks. So, but if you don't have Colossus or Force Field, like those units actually need to be good. So I agree that buffing the gateway units would be nice, but that would make warp gate all-ins too strong. So maybe they should just add late game upgrades, buff stuff like charge, make it cheaper, add like standard upgrades like plus 25 HP for zealots or whatever. I think that would be nice.
Give zealots a combat shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So the last thing we haven't really covered is the Swarmos. I don't think I'm forgetting anything else. So the Swarmos it's basically the rework they're going to be doing in Heart of the Swarm. The Flying Locust, 60-second cooldown, super fast on creep and off creep. Jona, have you used the Swarmos? Probably not, but
I have.
Yeah.
I use it against Terran when they go mech. I just kind of make Swarmos and Niduses and try to kill their economy till they push, and then I try to kill the move out. I'm not sure if it's actually viable or if the people I'm playing against are just like executing improperly. But it seems pretty good. I just think they're a bit expensive for their cooldown. Like, they're a really good unit, but 200 gas per Swarmos is a lot of money. Like, you need so much gas to get a good amount of Swarmos out that you cannot make any other tech unit really when you're building Swarmos, which kind of forces you into making like roaches or like shitty units for support, which creates really like scenarios where yes, you do a lot of damage, but it's incredibly hard to actually deal with the mech army because the only unit you have that's really like a tech unit is the Swarmos, and just the Swarmos alone won't kill the mech army. But I'm not sure if that's just because how my games have played out, but that's kind of the feeling I get from it.
Mo, have you faced the Swarmos?
No, I haven't faced it, but I played a little bit with it. I just love what they did with the Stormhost. I think that's a really nice unit, and it's a unit that Zerg kind of needed to, a unit that, kind of puts a clock on the enemy. Like, if you fucking Turtle as Protoss or Terran, Swarmhost is actually a unit that, can go in, do damage without actually, committing. And that's a problem Zerg has had ever since 2010. So I love the unit. If it's balanced or not, I don't know, but they can always tweak the stats.
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of fun to play with. You shoot the locust, you kind of split them or control them. You go harass somewhere else. You throw down a nidus while the locusts are landing in the main base, defending
Oh,
the nidus.
look at
It's like a fun unit to play with. But I'm not sure if it's appropriately balanced yet. But that's, I guess, with everything in Legacy of the Void right now.
What about you, Chris? Faced any Swarmos? Were they relevant?
Yeah, I played a show match that hasn't been shown yet, but hopefully soon TM. I see it more used as like, on top of what Morrow was saying, used as kind of like a mutalist group almost. You'd make a few of them, like a small group of them, and then you'd like, harass the CC, harass the mineral line, kill a nexus, whatever. But as far as like massing them, like they were used in HOTS, I don't see that ever happening again.
No.
Okay. There's a few things we haven't covered. The Nidus, let's get to it. The Nidus basically is invincible while it's building, and once it's done building, well, you can kill it. But obviously, a lot of queens are going to come out and so on. Mo, have you played versus Nidus as a Terran?
No, I actually haven't played against it, but I did it myself against a Terran, and I just felt so dirty, man. Like, you just fucking build queens, take up to Nidus, and you load up the queens, so they will exit first. As soon as the Nidus is done, you pop up the queens instantly, and there's no fucking way Terran is killing that instantly. They won't actually have enough. You transfuse the Nidus, then the roaches come out, and you win the game. I don't see how this is balanced at all. It's just really fucking strong.
Yeah. What about you, Jonah?
Yeah, I don't think the way it is right now is a solution. It's fun to play with, and it kind of punishes people with no army in their main base late game. For example, I mean, if someone has 6 tanks surrounding the Nidus, it will probably die before you get a transfuse off. But in any early game rushes, it seems really imbalanced. So maybe they need to make it late game only. So like your opponent always has enough units to like instantly shoot it down if they react in time. But it's also what's cool about it is that you can't just surround it with workers anymore, which I thought was really stupid about Niduses before. Even if you weren't prepared for it, if you just pulled enough workers, it almost always died. Even if it was like halfway done, the workers usually still killed it. And I think that's a good change, but I'm not sure that's a good thing. But I'm not sure if this is the change that that's right for it, if that makes sense. I think that needs to change, but I'm not sure if this specific change is right for it, I guess.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I don't understand why they don't just give it some armor and some more HP,
Yeah, make
so
it like harder
workers
to
don't kill it.
Yeah.
But if you have like a tank, I think you should kill it, because it's unfair to like say that Terran should have an army anywhere just to be prepared for the Nidus. It's not like a big medevac drop, because when you're out with medevacs, they can get picked off by feedback, blink stalkers, mutalisks, and so on. It's like you're committing out there to actually do that kind of damage. But with a Nidus, you put like 100 and overseer, and it's like you can't backfire. So I don't think it should be as strong as
No,
the other
definitely.
stuff.
One more thing, I think they should tweak it to where it's killable more easily, but maybe slightly harder than in HOTS, but make it unload faster. So that, because right now, unless you have queens in first, in any other scenario where you just have regular units in, it almost always dies before you can get a significant amount of units out, and that's really weird. Because sometimes you get the Nidus up, for example, late game, you're playing late game against Macrite, and you don't have a lot of queens, but you're trying to Nidus in links. There will only be like 10 links out of the Nidus before it dies from the workers, regardless of the situation. I feel like, and you can re-Nidus, but at that point, the Hellions and the whatever come back into the main to defend. So I feel like it should unload a lot quicker than it does right now. I think it should unload a lot faster, because if it is tweaked properly and it's balanced, it should actually give a bigger reward, I feel, if it does get up.
Yeah. One thing I would really like to see, about the Nidus is that it would like unload Zerglings quicker than Ultralisk, depending
yeah.
on the cargo space. So like one
That's a really
Ultralisk would
good
take
idea.
the same time as 8 Zerglings, because right now it would like you want to do Nidus and like swarm their base with Zerglings, but it's so fucking bad that
Yeah.
you can't unload Zerglings. It's just too slow.
Yeah, that sounds like a very nice tweak. Hopefully, David is watching.
He's not. He
The
got the
dr-
fucking tinfoil hat and he's in fucking Hawaii, man.
Don't kill the tree, my man. All right. We talked about the other units versus the disruptor. We didn't talk about the disruptor itself. 150 minerals, 300 gas. Needs a daddy warp prism, otherwise you're losing a lot of investment if it does die. Speed is kind of slow, except when it's cranked. Has a cooldown of, I don't know, I think it was like 30 seconds with the old timer. I forgot the new timer, what it is. But Chris,
It's 22.
22. Chris, your thoughts on the disruptor?
Um,
As someone who's played Brood War a lot as well.
I think it's a really fun unit. I think it actually is most equatable to the Reaver and Brood War, because if you make too many of them, it's not useful at all. So ideally, you want to have like 2 or 3, maybe one in a warp prism constantly harassing. But you can't just. It's not like the Colossus. You can't just have a bunch of gateway units and then have like 6 disruptors, 7 disruptors. It's not really cost efficient at that point. And then they're like highly microable. So I really see it very comparable to the Reaver. I mean, when it first came out, it was like the first few days, it seemed really Emba. But as I'm playing harder and harder opponents that are actually very good, if someone properly splits, it's like the same thing as against Banelings. If they properly split, it's pretty useless and it won't even be cost efficient. But if they don't, I got against like one Terran player, I think one shot, I got 53 kills, including 4 ghosts. Like literally one shot. So like, there's 2 sides to the coins, but the problem is you're relying on this AoE, and if it doesn't hit, you got these gateway units that are just going to get shredded. And if it does hit, that's really nice. But I like the unit. I think it's fun, but obviously it's not something that Protoss can rely on every single game to be a core part of their army to replace the Colossus. So I think it's fun. I think it's a great unit. But yeah, that's all I can say really
If
about
you,
going into balance.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jonah.
I would like to say that I don't think fights with it have been figured out enough. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that can still happen, like dropping disruptors behind their army and coming from multiple sides at once to make splitting more difficult, or flanking better, or maybe I feel like there's still a lot of options and terrain and things you can abuse with the disruptor to make fights more cost efficient. I don't think it's always the case that if a player splits, it never hits. I think even against really good players, if you have a really good engagement or a really good angle, you can still do a lot of damage with the disruptor. But I do agree that right now it seems to be too expensive for its use. I feel like 300 gas for killing maybe 1 or 2 Ravagers is not fair. I think it maybe needs to be slightly cheaper or have the cooldown be lower. So like the time from activation to explosion maybe be shorter. But that makes splitting maybe too difficult, especially when you're off creep Zerg. But those are just some of the things that go through my mind when I think about the thing. I think it's a bit too expensive, and I think maybe the time it takes for it to explode should maybe be slightly shorter, but not too much.
Yeah, there's been a few talks in the Blizzard chat basically saying less damage, so maybe half or something, and cheaper to produce, because 150, 300 is quite expensive. And then I don't know if a shorter cooldown on top of that would be good, but right now it seems to be like hit or miss. It's like you either hit or you miss, and then you're fucked. So we'll see where it goes. Morrow, Disruptor, I mean, your Cyclones are safe, but your Bio are running for their lives. What are your thoughts?
I just want to echo what Jonas said. I don't think Protoss players are nowhere near good enough at the game to use that kind of complicated unit effectively. Like, fucking Protoss players, they had storm drops
Yes.
all of this time and they never used it, even though it's super fucking strong.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So you give this kind of tool to Protoss, it's gonna take like 2 years before we see this unit do anything. Like, I think it's strong. Sure, it's expensive, but
What's your Protoss win rate right now in Legacy of the Void, by the way?
We can 1-on-1 if you want.
Oh,
Fucking ready.
No, but it's true. Like Protoss players always took the longest time to figure their race out. Like this is a fact by now. Current players, we were like trying every unit, and we were like, oh, Marines, oh, Marauders, Medevacs.
Oh, wow.
And we're good to go.
Wow.
Like
Wow,
5
that's
years, figure
insane,
this
man.
shit out. Like
Marine
after 1 week, we
Marauders.
figured our race out, and you guys are like, Colossus or Storm. It's true, man. It's
I
true.
can't. Oh my god.
Yeah,
But
now
I
you
think
have like the
Disruptor
disruptor,
has
it
more-
doesn't like
more
A
plus.
move and you're like confused. I think it's a good unit.
I,
But like HuK said, you can't rely on it. Like if I was a Protoss player myself, I would approach that unit more as a zone control. But I would kind of hate life as Protoss right now because they don't actually have any like reliable damage output. Like disruptor trying to flank and come in from behind, that it doesn't like sound like you can rely on that at all. And the 22-second cooldown is, I don't know why it's that long. I think it can be shorter as well.
so basically, HuK versus Morrow show match soon. TM, best of 5, best of 7.
Yeah, I would me tearing him Protoss. Like, let's fucking do it.
Oh,
Any time,
reverse.
man. Like,
Now look at these
Give me
Protosses
a
in the
few
chat. They're
days
so
to learn.
mad at me.
give me a few days to learn the hotkeys, and it'll be fucking on, and it'll be over for you.
Damn. All right. Next up, we have the Stasis Ward. Now, every backseat gamer and every Twitch chat will tell every Protoss that is ever streaming to make those defensively and that they are the new hope for Protoss. Chris, what are your thoughts on all those wonderful people who just want to help you with the Stasis Ward, man?
I think it definitely has its uses. The problem is that right now opening up Oracle is like really bad.
Mm-hmm.
PVZ, if you open up Oracle, they go Burrowed Roaches, you're dead. You open up Oracle, they go Nidus, you're dead. So it's just like not a reliable way to open up in a lot of games. It definitely has its uses, but like in most cases right now in the beta, you can't really get it until mid game, and then by mid game, if like they're walking around with their army without any detection, they should get fucked on anyways. So yeah, it has its uses, but only against bad players and only mid to late game.
I think Burrow Roach on hatch tech with Burrow movement is really dumb, first of all. I think I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. But I think outside of that, if you stasis ward and you time it correctly with Disruptor, Jesus fucking it destroy everything.
Yeah.
Like, I've had a Protoss, like, stasis ward against me, and it caught like a decent amount of units, and the Disruptor went in, and I wanted to kill the Disruptor after it did a lot of damage, but obviously my units being close to Disruptor made, whatever, like, if you time it right in the last 3 seconds of the stasis ward and you activate, because the thing that I think it takes 3 seconds to like explode, if you time it correct and you just explode right when the stasis ward ends, it can be really, really good, but I haven't played enough to see like how often you'll actually get stuck if you play well into the stasis ward.
So
But I feel like
so he had disruptors, stasis wards, plus like. So I'm assuming this is mid game, right?
yeah.
So did you have detection with your army, like one overseer or something?
No, like that's what I was about to say. I think I'm not sure. Like I haven't played enough against people going Oracle to know how difficult it is to clear up the stasis wards or to like send one unit in or to see where they are. But I think it's okay. But it's once again like a trick, like just like flanking with disruptors or all those stuff. It's like tricks you can win with, but it's not reliable.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's definitely reliable. They can send a ling, a changeling, just have an overseer scouting ahead because it doesn't catch air units. But it definitely is a new tool that Protoss has. It's if we can survive the early game, maybe we'll be able to use it more. And so yeah, last but not least, the Viper Cloud, the Irradiate. I don't know the name of the spell exactly, but. Basically what it does is for 10 seconds it does AoE, it does like a cloud around the unit you cast it, and if that unit dies, the cloud stays there for like for the 10 seconds. Let's say the unit dies at second 2, then it stays there until second 10. Maybe that's not good enough. Maybe it should be like, if a unit dies with it, then it extends its life by like 5 seconds or whatever, or it stays there for another 5 after the unit dies.
I think it's really good.
But like
as
if
is.
yeah, but if a unit dies at second 9, then the cloud stays there for another second. That's like.
But it's
barely
still
nothing.
doing AoE damage the whole time. Like, let's say you have like 10 phoenixes and you cast it on a phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like it's very useful. Like
Yeah, for sure.
like in a situation where you're doing like Muta Corruptor versus Phoenix, you now have that option as Zerg. If you get a few Vipers, they can't kite for days anymore. They have to like split up their Phoenixes. They have to micro.
How far is the range of the Viper? I'm sorry, I don't know this, but how far is the range of that the Viper ability?
Pretty far.
Yeah, probably
'Cause
like 8 or 9.
What I'm thinking, what I'm wondering is if you can ever land it if the Phoenixes have range. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, you
If-
have Muta and Corruptor too. It's not like they just come in and it's 20 Phoenixes versus 1 Viper, and then you're like, well, shit, am I gonna get this off or not?
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I guess if you're like actually engaging the Phoenixes, you could always get it off, right? But in kiting, I wonder if you can reach. But that's maybe I don't know. Because
So
that's
how
very
much
that
damage
changes
is
a
it?
lot.
It does a decent amount of damage. I want to say like at least full shield damage and then like half hull damage on a Phoenix or something.
Over 9
So, like, if you-
seconds.
So if you get like, let's say if you got 2 consecutives and they didn't split, or you get, you cast multiple, it does a lot of damage.
Oh, so it stacks.
I'm pretty sure, yes.
I
it
think
does
the
that.
area of effect stacks. Not that you can't cast it twice on the same unit.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
But I
yeah.
think the area of effect of the 2 spells will like do more damage.
Oh,
Yes.
that's pretty huge.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. That's what I think, but someone should have to look that up.
From yeah, I want to agree with that from what I've seen it used on me.
We glanced over the change of the roach, but free tunneling claws with burrow available at Hatchery Tech. Of course, borrowed roaches with, or just like roaches without speed are very slow, and then roaches without speed borrowed are even more slow. But HuK, do you think this is too good to be true right now for Zerg with the roach, the way it works?
Yeah, the biggest thing is just like how fucked Protoss is in general. So you're like you only have like a limited options, and you're like basically just looking at the clock and being like, oh, I made it to 5 minutes 6. Let's see if we can make it to 8 minutes. And you're just like kind of like trying to survive as long as you can, which kind of limits your options. And then on top of that, with like all the economy changes and Zerg's like being able to open up so greedy and rely on queens for a lot of their defense, and it's like general like the meta that Protoss has and options that they have is so shitty. And then Zerg, they can throw like the Ravager push, which is really strong, and then the next game you're preparing for it, you get 2 Immortals and a Warp Prism out, you get to their base and there's 20 Mutas or something, or 12 Mutas, whatever, and then you're behind anyways. So it's just more like the meta right now in general, where Protoss doesn't have options, that is causing the biggest problem.
What about you, Mo? Have you had to face the borrowed roaches, the sharks?
No, I haven't faced that yet. But I mean, I think it's too strong. Like roaches in early game already dominate every single unit. So giving them like the burrow too is too much, man.
Yeah. What about you, Jonah? How's Paradise?
Yeah. Well, I don't use it much because I try to use the new units when possible. In every situation where you can go burrow roaches, you can usually go ravagers or lurkers as well. So I try to prioritize those because it's more fun to play around with. But I feel like it's a bit of a weird way of improving the roach longevity, if that makes sense. I think it's more an idea of like, hey, you have 30 roaches and now you're stuck with them. Here's a way to easily get rid of them or like kind of make use of them. I think that's the idea behind it. At least that's what I'd say. But I think a better way of doing that is just making the tunneling claw upgrade cheaper, like still requiring to get it, just make it less expensive, or maybe build faster or something. I feel like it's really weird that the roaches get that automatically. It seems very strong and very kind of like right now if you do like a speed roach rush against Terra and you kind of break the front, and if you break the front and you have the ability to keep burrowing and unburrowing and whatever and shark around really fast, it seems It seems really strong because once you have roach speed, the tunneling claw speed also gets really fast. So if you do a burrow or like a roach speed rush, you get burrow with it, like the tunneling claws becomes extremely fast. It just seems not right, kind of.
Yeah.
I think they could move. I think they could move like the burrow, like them being able to move underground. They should move that to the Gaia reconstitution, if it's called that, like the roach speed upgrade. So instead of like having burrow move by default, like they could get burrow move, like combining tunneling claws and roach speed into one upgrade, like they did with the Hydra. I think
And
that
then make it like
makes
150
sense.
gas instead of 100 or something.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like as long as they can't, fucking one base burrow roach and walk past your bunker, it just seems kind of silly to give that to them
Yeah.
on one base or like early two base before lair.
That makes sense. Um, let's take a question from Reddit, just because it's relevant to what we're talking right now. Do you think ghosts should be buffed, maybe to deal with ultras or something? Morrow.
Yeah, I think the snipe buff is called for because snipe is not used
Yeah, the ghost
super
seems
much.
yeah ghost seems to be a dead unit outside of EMP, right?
Yeah, like it's obviously amazing against Protoss, but it's not that great unit against Certus. So
Yeah.
like they could buff snipe again to deal some real damage.
While we're still on the topic of Legacy of the Void, and there's a question from Kespa on Reddit. He says, "Do you feel the economic change in Legacy of the Void are more disadvantageous to any one race?" So I guess to start this discussion, maybe it would be like the Terran mines out faster because of the mule. If you don't land the mule on the right mineral patch, but you start losing mineral patches really quickly. Let's start with Chris. Do you think one race sucks the most?
Yeah, Protoss sucks the worst.
Because of the
Yeah,
mineral
it's true.
patches, right?
The mineral patches, the mules, the fact that Terran can lift off, the fact that Zerg is always going to be expanding more than the other races. I mean, just any way you look at it, Protoss has always had the most difficulty expanding. Gold bases, anything. Like it's always Protoss has had the toughest time. They're always expanding less and later than the other two races. So obviously these changes are just going to make it worse.
Yeah, I feel like that's something related to the gateway units, though, not the mineral changes. I feel like if the gateway units were stronger and you have a better early game force and you could just take your expansion, that would be good. I also feel like Zerg is extremely overpowered because when you're 3 HP before pull, you don't have to make an overlord to like 34 supply or something,
Holy crap.
which is really insane. Like you can... the disadvantage, or not disadvantage, but kind of like why 3 HP before pull is okay in Harder to Swarm is because it's very expensive to get all your queens, all your overlords out, and then start droning. But right now in Legacy, you can just throw down your hatcheries and just go fucking ham, man. You have so much income, it's insane. You're always ahead of Protoss. Like before, it was you're behind a little bit and then you step ahead. Now you're just always ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I know people love to get riled up about HuK and the Protoss complaints, but more, you agree as well that Protoss really got the short end of the stick on the mineral patch situation, right?
Yeah, but I think that's the wrong way to look at it. Like if you're a Protoss player, I don't think you should be sad about that. Like what you should be glad about not having to play Protoss the way you've been playing Protoss for the past 5 years. Just turtling. All right, time to attack. Move across the map for the first time, like when you're not just fake pushing with recall. And now we attack. Now Protoss, like hopefully, will become more like Zerg and more like Terran, where they can actually just move across the map and do whatever they like the other races has. Be expanding more and more, and you can kind of play the game as you want to instead of just fucking bunkering down and turtling the whole time. But like obviously Protoss does not have the tools, which is core units which are strong enough to defend your bases and move around. Like Protoss is mobile enough to move around, but they're not cost effective in small amounts of you can't just split your army in two and be very cost effective as Protoss as it stands right now. So that's why I feel like giving some upgrades to their core units at Twilight Council would be a very nice change to this game.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What's your thoughts on that, HuK? That last bit about the Twilight Council.
I mean, I don't know about that. I just know the Protoss units in general have to get a lot stronger for it to be like if Blizzard plans to actually make the Colossus useless and they want it to be like gateway units plus, you know, Protoss mix in like maybe the Oracle and Stasis Ward, or they mix in the Disruptor, or they mix in Storm, then they need to make the gateway units a lot stronger.
Yeah, the Sentry just needs to be stronger, to be honest. Like, you have to make Sentries to force field. You always have to make Sentries. But the Sentry is such a shit unit. Like, the force field is so good, right? But the unit, the Sentry, is so bad. It does no, like, it tickles other shit and it just dies instantly to anything. I feel like if the Sentry would actually be like a proper unit, stat-wise, it would actually make a huge difference already. Because you always make them, but they don't add to your army outside of the spells they cast. If they would add damage and add like buffer outside of their abilities, I think that would solve a lot of the problems Protoss currently has with expanding. Because that way you can still make the sentries you need to force field and position your army, but they will also like help in like actually defending, like damage-wise, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you want, like, you're not really gonna build sentries anymore now when Ravager is out. Like, you made them for the force field, and force field is irrelevant now.
Well,
even against Terran, you don't really build sentries in early game. You maybe build one sentry or two sentries. Like, they don't really do a lot because of, you know, medevac boost. You just pick up the bio and, you know, fucking drop on the other side of the force field. Like, sentries don't really fit into the game anymore. I would not like to see a sentry buff. I feel like Sentry, Colossus, you know, force field, like, this is the kind of stuff I don't want Protoss to be. I want Protoss to be like, have like fucking strong units that can fight.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, obviously, but the idea I had was if the Ravager gets sufficiently tweaked, the Sentry will probably find its place again in PvZ. And I don't think the Sentry is necessarily a bad unit in every way. I just think it does too much force field wise. But if the force field part of it gets weaker the longer the game progresses, I still think it could have a place with its abilities. But I just feel like it's a weak unit. So maybe you're right. Maybe they just need to just change the Sentry generally, like remove force field from the game, give it another ability, or just keep it having Guardian Shield only, but improve the stats of it regardless. But I do feel like the Sentry is like a really weird unit in Legacy right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I think that an interesting thing that they could do, to be honest, would remove the Adept and give the Dragoon, and then have it only be able to be built from the gateway, as in like you can't warp it in, but it's actually a very good fighting unit. I think that would be a really interesting change, because the Stalker sucks versus everything, like Roach Hydra, Lurker, Bio. It's just like paper. Like the only way Stalkers are really good are like a blink all in.
You have 60 of them.
Yeah, and you just keep microing until you win the game. But as far as like late game composition, you never want Stalkers in any situation. So it'd be nice to have like a regular fighting unit that was actually pretty strong against a lot of things like the Dragoon.
That would create diversity in production buildings too. Like you'd keep maybe like 4 gates,
So Protoss still have to macro and it's still difficult, but at the same time they can do everything they were doing before.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to keep the discussion going in that direction from the Red Viper on Reddit. Do you think the economy change is even a solid change? In the end, is it only a map change, to be honest? It forces you to expand faster, but you still don't get more money when you spread your 60 workers over more bases. So basically what he's saying is the economy change just makes every race more broke, like as the game goes on, like you're struggling to keep, like, to be healthy financially. So do you think that's the correct way to look at it? Obviously it makes the game more dynamic, it changes it and makes it more fun, but would it be more fun to see maybe like the Brood War mining style where less worker is more efficient and you get more money out of that, so that having more bases is being rewarded for having more money instead of just keeping your economy alive? Let's go with Morrow, since you played a ton of Brood War.
Yeah, like that kind of designing economy, like that is just so much better in so many ways. Like there's not really much to disagree on. Legacy is better than Harder Swarm, you know, expanding more. You're spreading yourself out thin. There's actually a clock on expanding instead of just fucking Protoss 2-base lanes going on for 20 minutes and stuff like that. It's just crazy. So yeah, we won't see stuff like that anymore, which makes me really happy. But you know, a change like this would actually make a huge difference, and I think the game would be much better from that change alone. But I'm you know, I can settle for this. I know we're talking about Blizzard here, so like this is I'm pretty happy about this.
Isn't this kind of like what they did though, but in a soft way? Like your minerals in your main are not going to run out super quick. Just half of them are going to run out super quick. So once those are mined out and you have a new expansion, you transfer half of your workers from your main to a new expansion, and you would get rewarded by extra income from the extra expansion, even though you still have minerals in your main base. So it is kind of what they did, just in a softer way, where it takes still a little bit for all your patches to mine out, and you don't get the instant reward for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the change is actually very similar to the Brute War idea in a way.
No, but you can see it like as like in Legacy of the Void, you're kind of expanding just to keep the same economy that you already have.
Yeah.
Whereas in Brood War, you keep expanding to
It
actually
always grows
get more and
exponentially,
more,
okay,
more
okay.
and more income, and you eventually stop building workers all along. Whereas in StarCraft 2, you kind of go to your worker count to saturate 3 bases, and then you're done. Like you don't build more workers. Whereas in Brood War, you can kind of, you know, depending on your style, like you can kind of choose yourself how many workers you want, and you know it's just a lot more flexible when it
Yeah,
comes to all that.
So it's no exponential growth in StarCraft. It just kind of you still get benefit from the extra bases, but you can't grow your economy exponentially by keeping expanding early in the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's only the gas income that keeps on increasing. In my experience, in Legacy Void,
Oh,
but
that's
it
true.
goes like you take the third base and you feel like, oh, income boost. Let's put down like 10 barracks, and then like your main base is gone, and you're like, oh, actually, I'm fucking broke. Let's take a fourth base, but by the time you have the fourth base, you actually have like the fucking 3-base economy that you had 1 minute ago, and it's like it's really confusing.
Yeah, unless you're a
how it is.
scumbag Terran and you end up with a lot of orbitals, and then you're fucking rolling in the mules.
Yeah, drop mules one time, your mineral line is gone.
Yeah.
So less mineral patches would be better, or
Well, more maybe
What we're
just
talking about is like having, instead of like that you can pair up 2 workers on 1 mineral,
yeah.
like in Brood War, like 2 workers was like
Over?
they didn't have room, like they wouldn't, you know, sync up, so it would actually take longer time to mine. So if that makes sense.
The mining was inefficient.
so basically
Yeah.
like 8 probes per base was like you were rock solid and like living
Yeah,
the
like-
life and
Like
balling.
100% for every probe, but once you double that amount, then the next probes that come after that maybe just give 50% of the income as
What
as
if,
the last probes did.
What if you remove a few mineral patches but move the patches farther away from the base? Wouldn't that kind of create the same effect?
Yeah, that would create the same effect, but like a problem with that is that the workers like it would be a bit silly. Like the workers would they like stack up in a pretty weird way, you know, jumping around and all that. So like I don't see a reason why they couldn't just change, you know, the workers to mine differently. Like if Blizzard wanted to go about this way, then it would be much easier for them to just change how workers mine rather than changing every single map how the mineral lines are, you know, placed. But yeah, you're right. It would create the same effect.
Okay. HuK, do you have any thoughts on this?
Not really. Pretty much. I mean, if they made it like Brood War, that's ideal. But once again, this is Blizzard we're talking about. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
It's what
Yeah.
they've done thus far. I don't think they're just going to go to Brood War. I think this is as far as they're going to go. They can tweak like the mineral patches and stuff or the values. That's fine. They can adjust that, but they're not going to revamp the whole system and make it like Brood War. That's just unrealistic in my opinion.
Okay.
But in general, I feel like it's a step in the right direction.
Okay. Last but not least, before we go to the break and talk about WCS, we've talked about a lot of stuff. Maybe if I missed something, go ask it on Reddit and we'll cover it. Last question. What do you think about that Terran unit concept that David Kim revealed during WCS? Flying starport unit with air ground attack mode at 9 range when deployed. So he said it could compete with Phoenixes and Mutas. So I don't know, we don't have any numbers or not even like visuals to show you guys, but basically it can fight air units. If you siege it, it has 9 range, so it, kills cannons, kills turrets, sieges if you have like a really strong position. But the thing about the siege thing is Terran seems so mobile, and I mean, except TVZ, like and I guess TVT. Never mind. But point is, Morrow, what do you think about that? Does it make you excited?
No, not really. Like,
All right.
like I think Cyclone is a good enough anti-air tool added to the game. I think Cyclone should be moved more as a anti-air tool and be less like fucking good against everything. But then you already have Vikings, which can contest with other air units. And as far as sieging bases, we have the siege tank that also sieges up. And, as far as transforming goes, your Vikings can land and stuff. I don't think Terran needs an air unit. I think StarCraft in general has too much focus on air units being so strong. I don't really like air units being that strong because it like removes the element of, flanking and positioning on the maps, ramps, and so on. So I never liked the idea of air units being so strong, and they clump up and it's like a death ball and stuff.
What
So
about
I don't
Brood
like
War
the unit.
though? Weren't air units like important and cool?
No, you never massed air units. Like they weren't strong. They were fit for timing windows and so on.
Okay.
Mutalisk, like you got 11 mutas, and then you're usually happy with that. Carriers was the difference, but carriers like a big fucking unit, and there was a ton of micro with that in a different way. But it wasn't like you're massing like battle cruisers for a late game army, and everything is stacked up, or the way you can do with banshees in a mech army, or like stacking up a ton of void rays. I think that's just really uninteresting. I don't like how it works in StarCraft 2 with air units being so important.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
What was the? I like totally missed out. It's a air to ground unit, 9
Yes,
range.
no. So like, it's an air unit that attacks air, and you can switch the mode so that it only attacks ground, and then it becomes like a siege that has 9 range. I don't know if it like cannot move when it can only attack ground, or if it's slower. He didn't say all the details, but
Yeah, I mean, from the information that he did say, it doesn't seem like a super exciting unit. Like, I just don't know what
David.
role they're looking to fill there.
yeah.
Where Terrans like say like, oh, we feel like we need this, or it'd be fun if we had this. I'm pretty sure no one said whatever David Kim came up with in his head right there.
Well,
But,
I mean, like casuals versus mutas probably scratch their head a lot. I mean, it's hard to keep up with mutas.
So then give like the Valkyrie or something. That'd be pretty cool. I think.
Actually, they're writing in the chat that it's AoE.
Oh,
So maybe it's exactly like the Valkyrie from Brood War.
Yeah, so
Um,
that makes more sense because Terran don't have a great anti-air AoE.
I think.
The Thor is just not that
and the
great.
Seeker missile is so slow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think something like the Valkyrie from Brood War or the Science Vessel from Brood War, or a combination of the both, would be really useful, and I think Terran players would enjoy that a lot. Since Terrans like to complain they don't have enough AoE, and then at the same time they like to complain that they don't have enough AoE anti-air.
Or you could scrap that unit, give a upgrade to the Viking to do splash to air, and then add like a meaningful bio, or because like the thing he said is like this is the last Terran unit. So if like you're set on having like that unit to be the anti-air, then like you don't have any more options for Terran when it comes to barracks or factory. So
Last
Yeah.
unit as in last unit you build, or what?
no, last unit from the Terran that's going to be added into the expansion.
Yeah, well, obviously, like they make two for each raid, right?
Yeah, no, I know, but like that would suck if that's what they settle on, and then the barracks or the factory stays the way it is, Because they tried to
think-
add the HuK and that didn't work, and they ask for like feedback from the community, but I don't think another starport unit would be as cool as a barracks or factory. So I guess
They
the
should
alter.
just-
Go ahead.
They should just rework the spellcasters from Terran though. I feel like the Raven and the Ghost are very like don't have the utility and weight you would like them to have. Like the Raven either becomes really stupid with PDD right now,
Mm-hmm.
or it kind of just does nothing, I feel. And the Ghost has like some utility, but I feel like it doesn't have the role it should fill, kind of. Really feel like they should really rework those units, and then what they add as extra unit doesn't actually matter that much if they do a good job on those 2 units.
Morrow?
Yeah, like yeah, they could either like improve the ghosts or add another bio unit. I would prefer if they added another bio unit from the scratch. I actually think a bio unit that could like throw a grenade that would, fly over the air, and you would have like a couple of seconds to dodge it for the opponent, and then it could deal like fucking sick damage.
Fireworks.
Yeah, like the Ravager gets the explosions, they have the fungal, Protoss, storm, disruptor, like stuff you need to dodge. But
Terran just throws
Terran
banelings.
doesn't really have anything that you like throw out, and the opponent has to deal with it, and that's what I'm really missing from Terran. I would much prefer that.
Last but not least, because I know I've said that like 3 times now, BC teleporting, useful, not useful, fuck BC. More your thoughts.
Yeah, like the fucking teleport with Battlecruiser is just so lame. The problem with Battlecruiser is they take 90 real seconds to build. I actually looked it up, and that's just like that's a no-go for a unit if it takes 90 seconds to build. So I would rather just have them reduce it to like 1 minute, and fuck the teleport, man. It's useless.
Okay, that covers everything, guys. Legacy of the Void, first impressions here on Remax with me, Mo, HuK, and Jonah. If there's anything we didn't talk that you want us to talk, use the Reddit thread. It's in the chat right now. Go ask your question before the end of the show. Get your friends to upvote it. Don't tell Reddit I told you that. Don't pull a Shanman. And when we get back, 2 minutes, we're going to have more discussion about WCS and the rest of the community news, Shoutcraft, and so on. So stay tuned. We're not muted yet. My OBS